baby.
Enjoy this great game.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Baby Baseball channel, and today talking about Trevor Bauer again. He has filed a defamation lawsuit against The Athletic and Molly Knight, their former MLB reporter in the U.S. District Court for the Central District of California in Los Angeles, for knowingly publishing false information. Very interesting. We're going to check out the complaint. We're going to check out what she said. We're going to check out what defamation really is according to the law, to see if he actually has a lawsuit here or if it sounds like something that's just going to get thrown out. When I first read this, I was actually thinking about some of the things that I've read from Twitter accounts, from reporters, and there's been a lot of lies, honestly. And the funny thing is, what I'm thinking is, like, you don't even have to lie. If you want to talk bad about Trevor Bauer, say he's bad for the game, whatever you want to say, you can really trash Trevor Bauer. And there's plenty of truth out there, confirmed stuff that he has said and done, that you can go ahead and just trash him all day long without lying. But for some reason, some reporters feel the need to go ahead and lie. And I'm not saying she did that. We're going to get into that, but it has happened, just to make their point even stronger. And it's really unnecessary. But I know we saw it not too long ago. I think it was the Rich Eisen show that put out a tweet that was quoting or saying what Dave Roberts said about Bauer, and it was a complete lie, just completely provable lie. They even had to delete the tweet and apologize because they got caught, of course, not because of any other reason. But, putting out this falsehood, and I'm not trying to support or defend Trevor Bauer. I'm just saying you don't need to lie. But they were saying that he said that Dave Roberts said that we don't expect Bauer back on opening day, if ever at all. Basically saying that he's not welcome. Basically was the gist, and that's not what he said. He said nothing of the sort. He just said, can't really comment on that until I find out later. That's about what he said. And they just lied and then had to delete their tweet and apologize for the lie. So it is definitely, that's the first thing I thought of when I seen this. I said, okay, I need to be reminded, what did Molly Knight exactly say? We're going to check that out. And is it a straight up lie? Because for it to be defamation, we'll go ahead and start with that. For this to be defamation, Bauer has to show four things. Number one, a false statement purporting to be a fact. So it has to be a straight up lie that is basically reported as fact. Number two, publication or communication of that statement to a third person. It's got to be put out so that we could see it, or a third person besides them two can see it. Obviously, that would be the case with The Athletic. Number three, fault amounting to at least negligence. So she had to be at fault to a certain extent, whether she was just intentionally lying or just completely negligent in her job, not doing the proper research, something like that. And number four, damages. It had to cause some harm to the person, in this case Bauer, who was the subject of the statement. If it didn't cause any harm to him, then there's nothing to sue over. So that's a key thing right there. It didn't necessarily had to have lost money, but did he lose sleep? Was this emotionally damaging to him? Was this, something like that? So even if someone says something bad about you, but it doesn't really cause any damages, you may not have a case. And here it is right here, 26 pages. I'm going to read the entire thing word for word. That's bullshit. I'm not about to do that. But we'll go through some of the key points of this so you don't have to. So first, it's just setting up the fact that basically Mr. Bauer is completely innocent. I'm not saying that myself. That's just what they're trying to say with this. That hasn't really been proven. That wasn't what that court hearing was about. That was just about whether he was a threat to her, a continuing threat, and whether or not that restraining order would stay in place. He was never charged, so we never got to see a full deep dive into the evidence. So I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm just saying that's what this complaint is starting out with. It's just establishing the fact that, well, at a minimum, he has not been proven guilty at all. And what we've seen so far in court would indicate the opposite. That's what they're trying to say with this complaint here. Despite being cleared by those independent arbiters, Mr. Bauer had already been convicted by the media through false and malicious reporting. And, boom, but day one, the media were all over his ass, and they were saying just horrible things about him. Everyone was tweeting out, I say everyone, but a lot of the blue check marks. And, I was putting out videos too. You can go back. I put out videos, but I think I was pretty fair. I didn't come out and say either way. I didn't say Bauer's a piece of shit, horrible rapist. I didn't say anything like that. I gave the facts of the case. I said, if this stuff is true, if he did this to her, choked her unconscious and beat the hell out of this dude, is an absolute horrible human being who needs to be in prison. If it's true. If. There's always that if. because I didn't know. I wanted to wait until all the details came out. Unfortunately, we never got all the deep details because there was no trial, because there were no charges filed. But here the complaint goes on to talk about The Athletic and Molly Knight and how she spread the false narrative that Mr. Bauer fractured the skull of the woman. There is no basis for that assertion because the complainant's own medical records with The Athletic possessed showed that she had no such fracture. The article stated that the complainant had signs of a basilar skull fracture and that she had received CT scans of her brain, neck, and face. Clear implication was that the CT scans confirmed the skull fracture, but that article ignored the results of the CT scans that showed no skull fracture. So by omitting those results, the article conveyed the false message that the complainant had suffered a skull fracture. And I think that's probably the case. To be honest, if you look at the article, it happens all the time. This is media. They're going to try to spin things. They're going to try to send out a certain message, and it will go to the point of basically just misleading, to the point of almost pretty much basically lying. And she also was tweeting out often to her 100,000 followers about the cracked, fractured skull. Cracked, fractured skull. You put that out there enough, everyone's thinking there was a fractured skull. Now, don't get me wrong. The fact that she had to have a CT scan to find out could mean that, she was she got hurt pretty bad. Then it gets into some details about The Athletic targeting Mr. Bauer, targeting Trevor Bauer, and it goes back to November 2020 when he won the Cy Young. Goes into free agency, and then there's a report Trevor Bauer could help the Blue Jays, but is his total package worth the risk? This is just like supporting information saying that The Athletic doesn't like Trevor Bauer. I mean, I don't know if a court's gonna really care about this because these articles are perfectly legitimate. They're opinion pieces, not a big deal, but it's just support that he thinks that, and it's probably right, that The Athletic in general completely is against Trevor Bauer, putting articles against Trevor Bauer. Here's another one, December 18, 2020. Question whether Bauer's history of antics and outspokenness would fit with the culture of Toronto. January 22nd, Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic wrote the article, Mets increasing focus on free agent pitcher Trevor Bauer. That article also questioned Mr. Bauer's character and sought to dissuade teams from signing him in free agency. Rosenthal warned if the Mets would sign him, it would renew questions about that team's culture. So they're calling this a harassment campaign. Complaint goes on to talk about Molly Knight and how she just simply doesn't like Trevor Bauer. And this is not a secret. She has tweeted out many things about Trevor Bauer and how horrible he is, how he's a woman abuser. Dodgers did not need to award a record-breaking contract to a guy with a well-known history of harassing women online. It's a huge disappointment they did. And on and on and on. She is definitely not a fan of Trevor Bauer. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. And then it goes on to finally the main, basis of this complaint, and that she wrote about the fractured skull. And anyway, The Athletic knew that the complainant had CT scans on her head, neck, and face because the article said exactly that. The article explained that the complainant, quote unquote, underwent rapid CT scans for her brain, face, and neck, but nonetheless omitted the results of the scans included in the medical records. Why wouldn't they check out the scans before saying that she had or did not have a fractured skull? Because if they did, they would know that she did not. That's what he's saying here in this complaint. By ignoring the negative results of the CT scan to the complainant's head, the article gave the clear but false impression that Mr. Bauer had fractured the complainant's skull. And then, of course, Molly Knight on Twitter continued to kind of push that falsehood, saying that it is not possible to consent to a fractured skull. That's what she said on Twitter. So continuing to try to put that out there. Minutes after sending that tweet, Ms. Knight sent a second tweet to her more than 100,000 followers. There seems to be some confusion surrounding the issue of consent, but there is some clarity. It's not possible to consent to a cracked skull. Again, a little bit later, saying you'd like to engage in rough sex that involves slapping or choking does not equal consent to a cracked skull. And then a lot of other news outlets would continue to talk about the cracked skull, but they would cite The Athletic because that was the original source for that information. And The Athletic and Ms. Knight acted with actual malice because they knew that there was no skull fracture. So far, when I look at the four elements that define defamation according to the law, false statement purported to be a fact, I think there's something there. Publication or communication of that statement to a third person, obviously something there. Fault amounted to at least negligence. It sounds like there's something there. They should have known. They had that information. They knew the CT scans were done. They had that information. They continued to put it out there. There was a cracked skull. The question is, was there damages? Was there harm caused to the person? And the complaint may eventually address that. Going to have to address that. But then he goes on to the fact that they continued to attack. You had, Ken Rosenthal's article that MLB cannot allow Trevor Bauer to pitch on Sunday, where that article said something along the lines that Trevor Bauer did not even deny that the allegations happened, which is false. At the time the petition was filed, Mr. Bauer, through his representatives, called the allegations categorically false and has continued to deny the allegations. So, it was obvious the Athletic was coming hard against after Bauer. Ken Rosenthal was coming hard after him. Molly Knight was coming hard after him. And at that time, the best thing to do was to just say, hey, we've got to wait till all the details come out. But if this is true, if that's what I said, it sounds horrible. It sounds absolutely disgusting. The dude should be locked up, but we have to wait to find out all the details. And some of these mainstream medias didn't want to do that. But that's why you got to be careful. You got to be careful. If you have information, you got to look at the information and you got to be honest. You can say Trevor Bauer's a terrible person. You can say that you think MLB should suspend him. That's an opinion. But when you come out and, put out information that is completely false as far as the cracked skull goes, you could get into trouble. And here we get to that fourth point. How does this affect Mr. Bauer? I call him Mr. Bauer because that's what he keeps saying in here. But how does this affect Trevor Bauer? The false accusations of fracturing the complainant's skull have also severely damaged Mr. Bauer's reputation and caused him anguish, humiliation, embarrassment, and financial loss. The question the court may have to answer is, well, you were going to be caused anguish, humiliation, embarrassment, and financial loss, even if they didn't mention that and make that mistake about the skull. Just this entire situation caused that. The skull fracture, how much did that add to it? The fact that they kept on talking about the skull fracture and then Molly Knight tweeted that out a little bit. Did that make a huge difference on how much anguish, humiliation, embarrassment, and financial loss Trevor Bauer experienced? They do point out here that the assertion of the cracked skull is a provable fact, not an opinion, and that the complainant did not suffer a cracked or fractured skull, as the medical records attached to her declaration showed. Again, the Athletic had, was privy to that information, and here he is asking for the punitive damages, reasonable costs and expenses, including attorney fees and such other further relief as the court deems just and appropriate. So it's not a dollar amount here, but yeah, this is a serious lawsuit right here. And after just looking through the complaint, and I'm speaking from just a point of view, from a legal point of view. I'm not a lawyer, by the way. I've studied law. I thought about being a lawyer. I never actually went through with it. But you can hate Trevor Bauer. You can think he's a piece of shit. You can think he's guilty as all sin. But I think that at least, at the minimum, he has a complaint. I think that this, after reading the entire complaint and everything, that it's close enough. It meets the four elements, at least close enough. The only one I'm concerned about is the fourth, the damages, the harm that it caused to Trevor Bauer from that inaccuracy in the reporting of the Athletic overall. But, the Athletic is a huge publication. A lot of people, when you read about a cracked skull, it could cause people to think how horrible it was, what he must have done to her to cause her skull to be cracked. Even if the skull wasn't cracked, I'm not trying to defend Trevor Bauer. I mean, if he did anything that was said that she said he did, as far as her choking her unconscious, beating her, I can't even think about it. It's awful. It's absolutely terrible. But it hasn't been proven in a court of law, and it definitely hadn't been proven when all these reports were coming out. And the Athletic did come hard against Trevor Bauer. It's pretty clear. And I think he might have a case. I don't know if he's going to be awarded anything, but I think he might have a case, just speaking from a legal point of view. If I'm a judge, which I'm not even a lawyer, but if I'm a judge, I'm going to have to take my time on this and really look into this to make a decision, because to me it's not cut and dry like, this is frivolous, this is nothing, man, throw this thing out. I'd have to think about, how much harm did this cause him? How much, anguish did this cause him? Just from that inaccuracy in the reporting, just from what the Athletic reported that was complete falsehoods. Not the opinions. The opinions are fine, but just the falsehoods that they reported, that they should have known better, that they were completely, delinquent. They were completely not delinquent, but they were completely, they were completely negligent. They were completely negligent because they should have known better, or they were just straight up lying. How much harm did that cause Trevor Bauer as opposed to just the entire situation? If they had just told the truth the entire time, he still would have been in quite a bit of anguish. You know what I'm saying? His career still would have been in quite a bit of trouble. So I'm not saying it's a slam dunk either way, but I'm just saying I think he does have an interesting case here. But let me know what you guys think down below. And It's going to be interesting to see where this goes and how many more lawsuits he's going to file. Maybe against MLB when they try to suspend him. This is going to be wild. This is going to be insane. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. If you're a lawyer, let me know what you think, because I'm not. But I find this fascinating and interesting. That's why I talk about it so much. Just insane situation here with Trevor Bauer. Let me know what you guys think down below. Hit that thumbs up. Hit that subscribe. We'll talk to you next time. Straight to the hole. I got no chance of ever making my goal.